Hi guys, I've been working on some new stuff recently. Obviously the build, but I'm more excited about the logo I've been creating. I'm getting there slowly. Got a few more things to sort out. So I've got a logo for the channel. I've also dragged my partner into this to help me try and animate it as well, so we can have a nice introduction, just to tie the videos together nicely. And it's nicer than letting me talk and just staring at the Sims screen that we've all seen very lots of. Anyway, I'm also attempting a website that will hopefully be up soonish for my builds as well, and hopefully we'll be able to have downloads on there too. I'm not entirely sure about all the technical details. As I've already said, I've had to get help for these things. It's useful living with a tech guy. It really is. I mean, without him I probably never would have even done these videos, but don't tell him I said that, please. Just do not tell him I said that. My life would be boring without these videos. They literally keep me going, because I have no life, as you can tell. Anyway, before I go on rambling, we are looking at Newstead Abbey speed build. I recreated the first floor because the footage went all crazy. I had it, but it wasn't working, so I redone that to have a complete build. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah. So Newstead Abbey was the home of Lord Byron, who was a famous, I was about to say pirate then, yarr! Poet. He was a famous poet, not a pirate. And it is in Nottingham. Sorry, I'm confusing myself. Nothing unusual there. So that's in Nottingham, obviously UK. As I've said, I had to rebuild the bottom of the first floor. I had to resize it so many times the first time to get it to actually fit the plot, and this is obviously a 64 by 64 size. There was no way I was going to squeeze it in anywhere else, and the thing is still really squashed, which is frustrating, but it's there. I mean, the build comes together quite quickly, luckily. I mean, it's very basic, the outside. I had to change a few things a lot, and lots of resizing goes on just to edit the rooms, and yeah, I mean, I've added, like, I started with the base, so you can tell I just done the plain in with the extra decoration on like where the curves are in the build, etc. I've added that after we've got the main shape. As you can see here, I've pulled forward this part. This part is the ruins. It is the ruins of the church, more specifically. I pulled it forward so I could get more detail on it, but unfortunately it means it does cover up the rest of the build. But I could have sort of squeezed it in, made it a bit slimmer, but it just wouldn't have looked the same. So I've pulled that forward so we can see it better, and it covers the rest of the building of the abbey, but it's okay. Another fun fact, the Newstead Abbey was actually not an abbey, it was a priory. I believe I pronounced that right. So obviously it was a great idea to use some of the ruins aesthetics that we have. I didn't know what to do with them at first. I sort of figured it out. I wanted a bit more from it, but I think I would have overdone it, to be honest. The original idea was to make this area gosh, that goes quick. To make this area a sort of like garden area. I was going to make it originally a small, like, area for your, what do you call it? I am getting confused. For like barbecue, just like a little chill out space. But I did decide against that because I just randomly thought, oh, I have a better idea. The roofing, as you can see, it was quite simple to do in the amount of shapes and stuff. The area that was difficult is down where we've got the circular room out onto the triangle part of it. Lots of different changes go on here. I do apologise if it's a bit too fast. I mean, guys, don't blink, you might miss something. As you can imagine, I sped this up a lot more than I wanted to. I mean, this video I think takes about half an hour, but at the same time, this was like 60 hours of footage that I put together, and it was just, I think, by speeding it up more, it made the video shorter, but at the same time, I kind of had to compromise with how fast it went to the time, so I'm kind of confusing myself as per usual about what I'm saying. So we've got the roofing, and around the roofs we've got like little, I don't know, I like to think sort of like more like castles when they have it around the outside, but we needed the roof. So I've added them, and I've tried to give it the right shape as well. Lots of things get extended and squashed back up again. I used lots of photos from the exterior. The interior was difficult, to be honest. I mean, I had lots and lots of exterior photos, but with the interior, it really was mostly just have to hope. Like, I had a floor plan that gave me what room was meant to be where, etc., and what it was meant to be, but ultimately I relied on that a lot and tried to stick with the style that I'm used to doing for these recreations. The windows were hard to choose. You can tell I've gone through a few different ones, and I believe I also changed it again a few times. It was difficult. I didn't know, like, there are several different style windows, and yet I didn't want it to be so different that it stood out, especially with the colours. That's the hardest part, getting the right style, shape windows, and yet the same colour, so it all matches. So see, we're moving the ruined area back a bit, so it's not like right out in the front, so it does look like a part of the build now. Lots of decorating going on. I love using the jungle, I was about to say jungle living, that is not it, jungle adventure pack for the decoration for this, as well as lots of the vampire, that I use quite a lot. To be honest, I really like using those ones for decorations for these sorts of builds. With the doors, I kind of tried to stick with sort of like a medieval type door, and to be honest, that was the best one I could find. And obviously it was perfect, let's be honest, I say the best one I could find, that was just perfect. I didn't need to think about it. What am I saying? To cut off this part here, which we may have missed, so just on the slightly outer part, that on the floor plan on the stairs it says it leads up to a private chamber, so I sort of figured, well, that probably cuts off, so you have to go up that side to the private chamber, and then across to the other side you have to use the other stairs. I mean, this was all hypothetical, but it worked. I say that a lot. I wonder if I can get through a video without saying, yeah, it's good, it worked, but probably not. So this part is a maze, which is actually in the right location compared to the build. I say it's a maze, it's more like just pretty designed bushes and flower area. So this is actually taken from a garden that is featured in Newstead Abbey itself. It does look like a maze from above, and I guess that was the sort of idea. I gave it lots of flowers and added a lot more colour. I like to try and keep it symmetrical for this one. It's obviously very symmetrical in the picture and the original, so I tried to copy that as much as possible. I kept adding lots of different flowers just to make it come out of it, and then changing my mind, as you can tell. Colours, I didn't know what colour. I love lots of colours and the design of it, but some flowers just didn't fit. And ultimately we end up with something that looks like it kind of contrasts enough but also goes together well. add a few trees to finish it off, attempt a little bit of a landscape in there of trying to make it more of a courtyard as it is in the build. This part is, it's actually a little further out than where it is on my build. As you can tell, I had to go from the bottom to get the sundial in the right position to make it look like it was the same as the picture. I tried to add like a fountain around it just to give it that extra sort of length and things. It took a while to figure this one out, but ultimately it's meant to resemble one of the items. Oh gosh, so I added lots of trees. This part here, it is taken from Newstead Abbey. It's of their Japanese garden, so I've tried to sort of recreate that with the little river. There's also a bridge that goes across, and there's a main central part that has the little building which I put in some meditation like little area for it. So yeah, this is the bridge. I tried to make it resemble as much as I could to what it was, as expected, as I do with all of my builds, or at least the recreations. So I chose these lights, kind of made it look a little bit more oriental. Kind of reminded me of the paper ones that you hang up, but not the circular ones. I know we have the circular ones, I know we have the paper ones, but at the same time I preferred this. It just sort of made it not too in your face, especially with that colour. I wanted it to be quite a tranquil sort of setting. So these rocks are meant to be like stepping stones that go across. In the picture you realise that there are little stepping stones to go across to this little area, which is a seated area, but as I've said, I changed it and added some little meditation. I was about to say mats, but they're more like stools. Lots and lots of flowers and things just to try and make it look a little bit more natural. I added these statues from the BB objects. BB, yeah. Show hidden objects. I know what I'm saying. My mouth just doesn't say what I'm thinking. Anyway, so I got them from there, from the Island Living, and it just corresponded to sort of like more the age of the building than anything else. As you just saw, I did try to use the waterfall from the Island Living as well. Unfortunately, it was too big. It is just the way it is. I wanted quite a small little waterfall just to I don't know. I like the sound of water, guys. I like waterfalls. I love the sound it makes, and ultimately there is a waterfall in this area at the Abbey, but I love the sound of water. Nothing more tranquil for this area than some nice running water. So the idea with these trees is that you could sort of go through them like a tunnel. Ultimately, I know the Sims will walk around them, in them, in every way they can possibly find. That probably isn't the way I attempted to make it look, but ultimately the design was there. So I managed to put in a waterfall slash feature that resembles the one inside the courtyard, which obviously this is the courtyard. And if you guys want to do this, it is quite easy. You just have to, I didn't know this, I must admit, I had to look it up. But to be able to put a waterfall inside, you just need to open up that house so it sees the room that I opened up wasn't a complete room, and therefore it's sort of like the garden led from one to the other and therefore made it a garden. And you can put it back together afterwards and it has no problem whatsoever. So that made me happy. I really enjoyed finding that one out. It was one of those where I just wanted it to work. It had to work. This is an essential part of the build. It will work. So it didn't take that long to figure out, and Google is your friend, guys, don't forget. I switch a lot between the daytime and the nighttime. I put lots of different lights in, and I like to see how they work together in the build as well. So adding the stairs and the doors, getting ready to do a first floor interior here. I can't remember what the rooms were meant to be, but they will be on the floor plan. Obviously got a nice sort of like little parlour here, I believe. I got the areas for the stairs, they take up more room on the Sims than they do on the floor plan ultimately, but I wanted to get the stairs the right shape. So if they bent, I just gave a little bit extra. I thought, well, that hallway doesn't need to be that big, so I'm just going to extend that room so we can have the stairs the right way round and looking the right way. At this part maybe is a part of the kitchen. Unfortunately, it is another room, as you can tell. But in the kitchen it has a little area with all the pots and pans, but there's also, that's where the cooker is. I didn't put the cooker in there. I put lots of pots and pans in there. Unfortunately, I have to admit, some of these actually go off, mainly the frying pan and the saucers. I was hoping to put a bit of decoration here. That there are some jars that hang up like all the way around the kitchen. I was hoping to add these in, but I just couldn't find the right thing. So I carried on, and eventually I did find the right thing, and I put a few above the cupboards, as you can see right there. That was good timing, just to give it that effect, because it did have lots of jars and things in there. So these were mostly storage rooms. I believe one was meant to be a cook's bedroom, so I changed it. It was meant to be a bit bigger than you can see, but I actually changed it into a bathroom. This is a build that didn't have any bathrooms in, so for the first floor I did edit rooms or change them slightly so I could add toilets. It's essential, especially in a build this big. I mean, who wants to run all the way to the second floor just to go to the bathroom? I mean, I have to at home, and it's not fun. Okay, yet again, loved doing this, loved making it, but there are some items that spoil. On this finished one that is in the build, the cups that are at the bottom, which actually aren't on there yet, they're goblets. That sounds weird. I feel like, anyway, they're from the vampire pack. So the ones on the top shelf of the glasses and the bottom shelf, they are actually fine, and all the plates that I added in there are fine to keep up as well. I have added from this build, I took out all of the ones that spoil and then put a room up on the gallery as well of the ones that don't. So if you don't want to have to deal with it, I mean, I can understand. I was devastated. I didn't even think about it until someone mentioned it on Facebook on one of the comments, and I was like, oh no. So then I'd done like a 3-day playthrough just to see what items would spoil, and like I said, I changed that room, and there is one that you can replace it with on the gallery. This room here that I have just missed because I was waffling on, that was meant to be a bureau. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I'm having one of those days today, guys. But anyway, so I changed that into the bar type area, and also this one was meant to be a bakery. I don't tend to use the cupcake machine that often. And I was like, yes, I can use it. I like it. I just don't know where to put it. You've got like a smaller build, or, I mean, if you're making a bakery, great. It's perfect. And it's really easy for your Sims to learn to use. But ultimately, when you're doing a residential plot, you kind of, I want the cupcakes. I like cupcakes, but what do I do with them? Where do I put them? Do I create a basement just so I can make cupcakes? For me, that's a yes. That is definitely 100% a yes. So we done a lot of shuffling around on this courtyard. I had no images to really go from. So I kind of tried to stick with it being very floral, and yet it was a good area for the Sims to do the... Oh, I'm losing my voice. To do the planters, so they could do some gardening. So everything got shuffled around a bit. I changed this part. As much as I liked the wooden bits that made the little tunnel, I chose the other ones from the Romantic Garden stuff pack, I believe. There it's something like, I chose those ones because they went with the build a bit more. They looked a little bit more like older archways more than anything else. Like the other ones, it just made it look a bit too modern for my liking personally. So we're using lots of debug objects, and that's where I was lucky enough to find the vampire goblets that I mentioned earlier. I also kind of feel like calling them a chalice. Chalice. I was about to say something completely wrong then. I mean, for these rooms, I didn't know what to do. I liked the idea that it was an outside area, so we can add in the woodworking as well as the flower arranging, and just to make it a proper workshop area, I then used debug items, which I do quite often, to be honest. It's one of my favourite things to do. If you've seen more than one of my videos, you will notice that I have done it a lot. So we're sort of going from one end of the build to another. So we're in the middle, the opposite side of the kitchen, and just creating quite a generic sort of dining room here, or dining hall. I don't often use the little placards on the wall, but it gave it something that I wouldn't normally think about. It just kind of, I enjoyed doing it, but at the same time I don't ever know what to use them for. But it was done. It looks okay. I'm not sure. I look at them and I kind of want to change them, but at the same time I like the way I use them. We've got a fair few sitting rooms, so I tried to decorate them all slightly individually, change things. But to be honest, I've got a little lady just stuck there. Help! Get me out of here! Getting distracted. So we got a little wine cupboard, woman, but it's a wine cellar. Use your words, woman. So yep, a little bit. I tried to do a bit of decoration in the hallways, the stairwells. I mean, they're not ultimately that important, but at the same time it just looks so empty. I don't like it empty. I must admit, it was more the stairwells with this build. With the hallways, they're quite small. I would have preferred them to be a bit bigger, and then I would have added more statues in, but instead it was mostly lights in the hallways. But we need room to move. I am currently trying to figure out where it is we are, and I have. So this is part of where the private chambers go up from. So we got the library, the study area. I sort of separated the library and an office. These two smaller rooms, again, they are meant to be storage, I believe. But I sort of thought, let's separate it a bit so you have like a work area away from the reading, and then for the other room, a little bit smaller. Guess what? It's a perfect place for a bathroom, but I didn't do that because I actually put the bathroom the other side. So I thought, a nice little art nook. I mean, I don't know about you guys, I love crafting. So I thought, yes, let's just do a little painting area. I like little painting areas. It's one of those things in many of my builds. This area that we have jumped to, I have been waffling on as per usual, is a private chapel. There are lots of archways. There's more archways than what I managed to put in. I tried to get that detail, but it also crossed a lot of the furniture and things that I wanted to put in. I did a bit of decoration. Ultimately, there was an altar that is there at the Abbey. I added the organ just to give it that vibe, let's say, more than anything. And this room here, the only way to actually get into it is going through the courtyard and across. So I have created it like another sitting room. I believe it's called an ornery or something. I'm not entirely sure what it is, in all honesty. But give the Sims a reason to go in there, I added the garden sort of bushy things. I get confused. I say that a lot. I say lots of things a lot. I am very repetitive, guys. I should get a parrot and then maybe I'll know what I actually sound like. Oh yeah, so there. This was my amazing ideas for anybody who hasn't seen it. Instead of making this area a sort of barbecue chill out area, I was like, this place needs a pool, and I was going to put it on the inside, and I was like, an indoor pool is awesome, but at the same time, the specific things that go on that first floor So I thought, let's put it in the ruins. We can make that sort of style so it looks a little bit older. We can put that across in the ruins, and the stairs up so you can go into it already sorted. So yeah, I loved that idea. As much as it was very much like a sudden moment of ta-da. Hope you're enjoying my amazing sound effects. That was one of the best parts about this build, I believe. I really wanted to use the ruins. I loved the idea and the concept of it, and yet I didn't know what to do exactly. So I've added lots of bedrooms. I've tried to keep them not necessarily too modern, so I've tried to use the beds that aren't, but I must admit it started off well, but as we go to the rest of the bedrooms it changes and they get a little bit more modern as we go. I've tried to add a few children's rooms. The area that you just saw, that is a part of the private chamber that you access from the further side. So this is the second floor. I've sort of tried to make it, instead of having like millions, well, it certainly feels like millions when you're making them, of bedrooms, I just like tried to make it a bit more of a recreational area, the second floor. So you've sort of got a bit of a divide. So we've got the gym, we've got the massage parlour, we've got a sauna, and then later you'll see like the games area that I added. There's also another sitting area. And it does make it look more modern with these things, but with so many rooms, it's hard to avoid. I've added another office here, which is the next room and not this one. This one was the idea that I got from one of the other builds, a smoker's room. Sort of, that's what it's called, a smoking room, where the gentleman would go to chill out, chat and smoke after a main meal or something like that. That's my concept of it anyway. So I tried to put that across there. I added lots of colour to this bit. I thought, we're getting a bit more modern, so why not? And with these builds, other than the flowers, it's hard to get the colour in there, to be honest. You can with the furniture and things, but because you want a certain sort of style to come across, which, as I've said, I sort of tend to deviate from that after going so far, and then it changes a little bit. Just a little bit. But no, I thought, why not? Let's just put a bit more colour into this area and see how it goes. So it is mostly a hallway. I mean, I was going to divide it up into rooms, but I thought then ultimately the space is reduced, and then by the time I've tried to fit something in that room, it's kind of gone all over the place. So I've kind of tried to follow through with all the colour here as well, because one room sort of leads to the other in these giant, essentially, hallways. Tried to make them as separate areas for each sort of part. So we've got these two that fix together, and then we've got the others at the end, but sort of using the rugs in the decoration to define that area more than going over the top. I love the idea of having a water fountain here. I'm not entirely sure how it would have gone. Ultimately, I changed my mind to something a little bit more that stood out. And we've also got the little, what do you call them? I don't know, the little statues that I sort of used as a divider. I added them as well. Like I said, it made it look a lot more modern and stand out, but then again, I find it hard to avoid. That personally could just be me, especially when I'm not using any custom content in the build as well. I don't like to do it until it's been put on the gallery, because there's so much trouble to just be like, I love this build, but it's got so much CC, and then you've got to find it. So now come up to the top, see, added another little seated area. The majority of this, basically all of it except for the bathrooms, is bedrooms. I tried to give them all their individual character, make it easier, nicer for building as well. We've got, in this little nursery, you've got like a little archways that lead across. I enjoy doing that, so you can sort of go from the parents' room into the nursery. And that was actually taken from another build that was already like it. I cannot remember which one, in complete honesty. But I love the idea so much that I've actually used it quite a lot. I like it. It's sweet. It's a really sweet idea that you can just go straight into your baby's room if they're screaming their head off. This is another idea I stole, guys, from one of my other builds. I believe it was the I don't know. Well, it's not a speed build. There is a video up that features it. I extended it a bit so we've got the room to walk through both sides, so we don't have to worry about going all the way out and around. Personally, I prefer it this time because it does have that extra space in it. And as per usual, I've tried to theme rooms on either colour or the objects I use. So this one, it's red, and it also uses a lot of the vampire objects that came with that pack. So I added a twin room of all the rooms I'd done. I had double rooms, I had children's rooms, and I just didn't have anything, whether it be for adults or whether it be for children. And I like having rooms where you can have more than one person in. I grew up sharing a room. And no, it certainly didn't harm me, guys. I mean, it might have, but as far as I can tell, it didn't. This bed style, I love this bed style yet again. It's taken from one of the other recreations I have done, and it's one of those things I've fallen in love with, I've learned about, and I've just taken it with me. So I decided to add a playroom. We've got lots of kids' rooms and things, and there were a few items that I didn't add in their rooms, like the colouring tables, drawing table, whichever you wish to call it. So we added that there just to, I mean, something different for the kids to do somewhere else in the house. It gave that room more of a purpose than what it would be as a bedroom. I think there are so many bedrooms and you can only have so many Sims. We're actually on the last stretch here of the interior now. And as again, more bedrooms, it just is the way it is. I added lots, but if you guys have got MC Command Center, you can add more people into your builds. Or this could also be used as a hotel if we get a pack where we can have hotels. I found that with quite a lot of these recreations, there are so much like rooms and things you can have in there, and yet at the same time it seems to lack the ability to have that many Sims. So this is up in the tower. I could have put stairs to go up again so you could have like a little view out. I kind of changed it into another workspace. This I haven't done before, and I love the idea. I wanted to extend the ruins, and I don't know whether it's actually a thing or not. I believe it is. I think I've seen it, heard it somewhere, don't know where. But I love the idea of a statue garden. So this was my very first attempt of a statue garden, trying to incorporate it into the ruins. And for a first attempt, it went pretty well. It took me a time to really figure out what I was going to do, but having the statue sort of propped up on the ruins and things really gave it that more of a vibe that it's meant to be a garden, just featuring lots of beautiful statues. So as you can tell, I didn't quite know what I was doing out here. I wanted a cool shape. I added, like, changed the grass. I always find when you want to add something and it changes like the background of it, especially with the grass, and then you can't find the right grass to change it back. So then I end up sort of trying to do a different colour. I mean, with this area, it was more, it looked bare. I could have left it. I really could have left it and it would not have been a problem whatsoever. But to me, it just looks so empty compared to everything else. So I got to design it a bit more, and the gardens, more gardens, just the way we like it. And I apologise for that, whether it was tuneful or not. So I am a garden enthusiast, and if you saw my real garden, you would not know it. And so we shrunk a lot of objects here and changed them just to change the look of the fountain. just added a few flowers and just to bring it out a bit more. This was meant to be a circular shape of the flowers going around. It didn't quite, it's more of an oval, as you can tell. This next bit, I didn't know what to do, the bit on the left hand side. I thought, oh, how about put some rocks around it? Not rock garden, but you know, it sort of isolates it a bit and makes it look like it's got a wall that goes around. So I kind of went against that idea and added, just thought, okay, let's just do a random shape and fill it in with flowers. That is literally what I done. I just thought random shape and flowers and it'll be perfect. Right guys, so that is the build. Actual complete speed build. My throat hurts. I'm not used to talking so long. Unless it's to my dog or the cats. But yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, make a comment if you've got a build suggestion. I do add them. They take a while for me to get to them. I have quite a long list, which actually makes me feel honoured. So thank you everybody for actually paying attention to my videos, enjoying them, but also trying to interact. And if there's anything you want built, let me know. I like the bigger builds, but at the same time, I would quite like to, you know, when people sort out try and do their whole worlds that you can and just do it completely of builds that aren't done by Maxis. I would love to do that. So definitely some smaller builds. If you've got ideas, get in touch with me. Thank you guys for joining me again. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you all soon.